Hi everyone, this is Britt Simon. I thought I'd jump on and do a live session, particularly for DV2023, to answer any questions you may have about that. Obviously, DV2023 has come to an abrupt end. It's because they've reached the cap. And so many of you may have questions about that. I'm sure there's going to be some of you that are shocked, hurt, in pain, and I totally understand the frustration that some of you will feel. Obviously, on the other side, it does mean that they've issued as many visas as they could possibly issue within the law, and in fact, they did exceed the 55,000 number. So that's important too. I'm sure I'm going to get some questions. In fact, I can already see one about, or a couple of questions about DV 2020. So let me just, and 2021, let me just clear that aside. There's no updates. I don't have an update for you for DV 2020 and 2021. My main intent this morning is to discuss DV 2023. Okay, so let me take some questions about that. Okay, so your Poem World, your interview has been cancelled at Nairobi. Does that mean they can use my information that I submitted with? So the people often ask about the DS260. Does the embassy hold on to that data? Does the government hold on to the data? They do. They keep that information for many years. If you make any sort of subsequent immigrant or non-immigrant application, they could look at the information that you've written in the DS260. They could take that into account if that information conflicts in any way with something you say in the future. That could cause a problem. But I hope that you've just been very honest in this process, as I always advise people to be. And if you have in your DS260, then there's nothing in there that will harm you, right? The only thing about filing a DS260 and not getting an immigrant visa is that the DS260 is an application for an immigrant visa. And so by filing that early on in the process, or at any time in the process, by filing the DS260, you declare immigrant intent. And that can make it more difficult to get a non-immigrant visa at some point in the future. So that is a factor that could be considered. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get a non-immigrant visa. It just means that it'll be a little bit more difficult, just a small amount more difficult, okay? Okay, from Casper, in the USA now. Well, that's great, Casper. I'm glad to hear that. EU 31K, good, quite a high number as well, almost one of the highest, but Warsaw did a fantastic job this year. Great, good for them and good for you. Welcome to America. In case I changed my year of birth on another visa application because I just found out it was wrong. Okay. If you found out that your year of birth was wrong, this is the same person who asked the question about the DS260. Going forward, don't try and match the lie, right? And you probably didn't mean to lie, but nevertheless, the information you gave before in the DS260 was not correct. Whenever you find out that something you said before is not correct, the only way to proceed is to then use the correct data. You don't try and alter information or continue with that bad information. Once you know that to be bad information, you use that, you don't use that bad information anymore. You use the good information that you have now, right? And you explain that you made a mistake. That's all. You have to come clean about that. Do not do what some people will tell you, which is change documentation, continue with the lie, continue telling them the bad. Don't do that. People that tell you those things are idiots. Don't listen to idiots. Always tell the truth. And once you realize that you made a mistake, you admit your mistake very quickly and you move on with the truth. Okay. Okay. I trust you're doing great. Please, until when can you no more apply for green card once you've been issued? I don't understand that, Daniel. When can you no more apply for green card once you've been issued? I don't understand that. I don't understand your question, Mark. Daniel, could you try and rephrase that for me? KTM Love is from Nepal. That's awesome. Natar, it has to be the toughest year of your life. Still shocked to be on 221G. Yeah, a lot of people report this, that being involved in this program is obviously an exciting thing, but it's such an emotional thing that when it doesn't work out, it's brutal. It's terrible. You'll go through all the stages of grief. You'll go through denial. You don't believe that you've lost out. You'll be angry about it. You'll try and make a deal about it. There's all sorts of things. You're going to go through the stages of grief, and eventually there will be calm acceptance. It's just like losing a loved one. It honestly is. It's grief. So I'm sorry you're going to go through all that. Do I expect the ruling to be soon in the good luck case? No, I don't expect it to be soon. It could be today. It could be in a year's time. I have no idea. I don't have any expectation. Over for DV2023. Yeah, it's over in that. Let me show you the numbers, actually. Let me show you. Present. I have a sneak preview to the numbers, as we'll see in Zarthisius's site on Friday. So he's going to update this on Friday. He'll take another scrape at that time. But what he's done this morning, and for the last few days, I'll reveal the secret now. Zarthisius has been scraping data for the last few days. One day he did, I think, 2 or maybe even 3 scrapes in one day. But he just did a scrape this morning to capture the data, and this is how it looks right now. Let me just move me. You don't want to see my big head over the data. Like that. Okay, so this is the number of issued visas, 54,983. On top of that, we take the 131, the 131. These cases are in a very particular status where the SEAC data says administrative processing. That's part of the visa printing process, and so those cases, the 131, will all get issued. Very, very occasionally we see a case like that doesn't get issued because somebody has their visa revoked in that process, but it's very, very rare. Like, don't even worry about that. The point is these 131 are going to be issued and will be added to that 54,983. There are about 48 visas contained in those numbers where we know that there are duplicate entries. What this means is there's one entry, usually with a family, where the main applicant is issued twice or appears to be issued twice in the SEAC database. It's basically because they moved to another, they split. They did a split between 2 embassies. And let's say they were in France, but they moved to Johannesburg or something, but the family stayed behind in France. So the case has to stay in France because the family are there, and the main selectee goes to Johannesburg or something. And then when Johannesburg embassy updates the data, it updates it in both places. So we have one physical person who appears to have 2 issued visas. It's kind of a strange situation, kind of like that. And so we know there are about 48 cases. So the number that I think we're going to see as the official number of consular processing is 55,066, thereabouts. It could be a few different to that. The official number can vary by a handful, but it's gone over the 55,000. Now, that doesn't take into account adjustment of status, which I think will probably be at this point around about 800 visas or so, roughly. Could be a bit more, 800 or 900. So once those are added in, we're actually going to see a number of 55,800 and something, maybe even 55,900 and something. It's going to be in that range. Okay, so they went over the 55,000. They said they posted a notice saying that they were worried that they were going to run out of visas. They expected to run out of visas. and they quoted some silly quota number like 54,833, which was a number they pulled out of the sky. It makes no sense at all. But regardless, that statement was a sort of a warning that was done as of a couple of days ago, published yesterday. And then this morning, all the embassies, just as the sun was rising and the earliest interviews were arriving at the gates of various embassies from the various time zones, I was kind of watching, if you like, reports from Uzbekistan and Tashkent and then Nairobi and Ankara, I think, on Kathmandu had been early. So as the sun was rising through the various regions and the time zone was changing, and people were going to the embassy for like 8 a.m. interviews and that sort of thing, 8 a.m. appointments, they were being turned away at the gates, and they were being told right there and then, no, there's no more visas. Additionally, I should show you, let me show you my Twitter feed. There's also, one second, where is that? This one, yeah. There's also this, there's an official statement here now on the travel.gov, the State Department's own Twitter feed, saying that they've finished. This is the official announcement that they've reached the cap. They're no longer issuing. We know they're no longer issuing. So, it's over. It's done. It's definitely done. Okay. Let me just go back to little old me. Actually, I should have. I wanted to show you something else, by the way. I'm sorry. Let's do this again. I want to look at the numbers again. I just want to show you because I'm sure this is going to come up. There are people in 221G, that 3,994. Some of you will be in that status. You'll be in this 4,000. You won't now get your visa. What will happen is those cases will not now change their status at all. They'll stay in that 221G status, which is a refused status. They'll stay in that status forever. So you won't get any further updates. Some of you will have your paperwork at the embassy, like the passports, maybe even in the last few days. They asked you for the passports to be handed in. But if your case doesn't right now say issued or the words administrative processing, you're not going to get issued, right? That's the blanket statement, the reality statement, okay? So 3,994 people are in that position. There are about 11,000 cases in ready status. About 3,500, 4,000 of those are scheduled for interviews in September. A lot of those numbers come from previous months. They're no-show cases or they're derivatives on cases that have been issued where the derivative is not going to proceed, but the main case is, those sort of things. So there's about 3,000 to 4,000 people who have been scheduled for September interviews that won't now get their interview. Okay, so just wanted to make that clear. Okay. So yeah, that's the explanation I just gave for 221G. That's what's going to happen. You're not going to get your visa, I'm afraid. Right. Let's see. I mainly put this comment up because I love the name, just in case. Please do more to improve the visibility of your channel. Too much BS out there. Yeah, I know. I've been remiss in the way I operate my channel. I've got 66,000 followers or something. It's not an ego trip for me. It's not an income for me. I just want to get information out there. But I have to admit, what you're saying is right. I should try and do more to improve the visibility, to improve the SEO, etc. On my blog, because there is a lot of really dopey comments spread around by people, and it does annoy and frustrate me when I have that, because I end up arguing with people that have listened to some idiot YouTuber who says this, and they come and so that person has listened to an idiot YouTuber or some person, and then says to me something that I know to be nonsense, and they argue it like it's fact, right? And so all these idiot YouTubers that just are interested in getting clicks, they haven't put any time in to learn about the process. What they have learned, they've probably learned from information I've put out there over the years. And and they claim to be experts, and they present themselves to followers as experts. They're not experts. And frankly, I'm surprised they do that. But nevertheless, what frustrates me is that bad information then gets out there, which I spend my time arguing against that bad information. So it drives me a bit bananas. So I should do more. You're right. I should do more to improve the visibility of my channel. So hopefully I'll work on that. But I've got so much going on. I've got, I work for a living. I have a very, very time-consuming job. I need to start that soon. I work for a living. I'm writing a book, but I have very little time for that. And then I do Brit Simon. So, it's just a lot. Okay. I got an email from the embassy, Dar es Salaam. They recalled. What does it mean? Was on ready for 3 months. So I don't know, Nadia, what your email says, but it probably, if you're still on 221G, then or you're on ready for 3 months. That's weird. So you'd have to give me a bit more information to know what they're saying. But basically, if you're not issued already, or at least in administrative processing, the one that says administrative processing, those two words, then it's over for you. And I don't quite know what happened with your case. Got your visa issued on August 3rd week. Thanks for the encouragement. You're very welcome, Nayan, and congratulations, and good luck in the States. For DV2023 winner who couldn't get their interviews, it's almost over, but don't give up. God has a better plan for you. If you're destined to come to the US, it will surely come to a reality. Yeah. Look, I'm not religious. You do you. If you want to believe God will change things for you, that's great. That plan, though, won't include diversity visa 2023, because God can't make that happen. But maybe there's some other way, Kaba, that your God could help you and others that believe in him or her. But I don't think of myself that way. Can Kuwait-born Indian documented apply for DV 2025? Yeah. So the whole thing with the diversity lottery is it's based on the place of birth. It's not based on your nationality. So you describe yourself as an Indian, it doesn't matter. The fact that you're born in Kuwait means that you're eligible to apply. OC from Sydney, NYC for almost a year now. That's awesome, Christopher. Thanks. Booked my first acting gig, filming over in LA. Fantastic. How cool to be an actor. I mean, I know there's a vibrant movie scene in Sydney, and in fact, there's one in New York. But yeah, LA has got to be presumably ground zero for all things acting. So to get your first acting gig over there, congratulations, Christopher. If you make it big, you make it in the movies, or you become a multi-billionaire through your acting, please send me an invite to an opening night or something. That'd be awesome. I'll get on the red carpet and 2021. There's no news. I'm under 221Gs from February till now. Do you think it's over? Yes, it is over. Luca, good to hear you. Good to hear from you, man. I love that photo. You look so handsome. But yeah, good to hear from you. Winner of 23 got visa last month. We'll be moving to North Carolina. North Carolina's nice. I usually give a quick, totally biased opinion of where people tell me they're going to live. Been having a nice friendly giggle with a guy that's moving to Alabama. Alabama. Anyway, but yeah, North Carolina is good. Really good place to live. It's got nice North Carolina's got nice weather. It's a bit cool. It doesn't get freezing cold. Very nice summers. Got the ocean right there. Good economy, good jobs. It's got a good combination of factors. It's a little bit further right politically than I would like, and it is in the South. So it was, it's not really the deep South, but you have to be a little bit aware. In the South of America, there is more racism because it's only sort of 60, 70 years there was segregation in this country. 60 years ago, 60, 70 years ago, not even that. The early 60s. So what's that? 60 years, yeah. So there are some people who still think like that. But North Carolina is not generally too bad, at least around the big cities. So you should be fine. All right. So good luck to you. Okay. DV2024 is like DV2023. That's a good question. What are the chances for a high case number, like 100K, 120K in DV2024? The good part of this question that I like is DV2024 going to be like DV2023 in terms of issuing all of the case numbers and stopping suddenly and that sort of thing? That's highly likely. So first of all, DV2024 is more over-selected than DV2023, right? There should be some of the bad behavior we see at some embassies should be improving in 2024 because, slowly they are getting over some of the backlogs of some of the other visa categories that have been preferred or prioritized ahead of DV, right? So there should be improvements in the process. Now, improvements in the process, particularly in Africa, is going to be bad news for high case numbers. That's the first thing I would say. In general, the fact that there are too many selectees means that we will see regions not going current. If you don't believe me when I say that, you're an idiot, frankly. Honestly, if you think that you can get from 140,000 people, you can get them to fit into 55,000 visas, you are nuts. And, I understand why people didn't believe me a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever, because they had only seen DV 2020 or 21, where all regions went current, right? But a lot of very smart people didn't believe me when I was saying in early DV 2023 that regions wouldn't go current. They just assumed that everything is going to go current because that's what happened in some recent years. But that should not be the case when you've got 140,000 people or 119,000 people selected. That not every region should go current. Africa only went current in DV 2023 because of the bad behavior of some embassies. Those embassies affected the chances of more than 10,000 people. And so therefore made current a possibility for Africa region. The other regions didn't go current, right? Although South America got very close. But so the reality is high case numbers in DV 2024 are likely to lose out. They're likely to lose out, right? Will we have this last minute sort of thing? Will we have an early conclusion of DV 2024? Yeah, that's also very likely. We know how the government behaves, and they are more than capable of issuing all of these visas. They've just shown it. They are more than capable of issuing all the visas, even with misbehaving embassies, within the time of the program. So, we need to learn these lessons, people. Number one, high case numbers are going to have a problem. Number two, you can't delay your case. You need to get your case going, right? So submit your DS260s, get your case going. Don't assume that there will be interviews right up until the end of September. There may not be. In fact, it could easily end in August, right? So good question. Thank you for that, Louis. What process is required with same information KCC is already processed? why would KCC complete DS260 processing while the embassy isn't satisfied with the information? I'm not sure if I really understand that question at all. 2024, my country is in war, I can't get a birth certificate. If your country is in war and there are difficulties with getting documents, the reciprocity page will be updated to show that the government understands that. So read the instructions. The instructions will take you to the reciprocity page and read that for your country, right? And do you attend an interview? Well, again, read the instructions and you'll have a better idea. Okay. I submitted my application on 15th of November 2023, but no 2NL. 15th of November 2023 hasn't happened yet. Are you predicting the future, or do you mean 15th of November 2022? So you didn't get a 2NL, and you won't now. 2023 is over. What are the main not to do mistakes, and what are the minor mistakes that won't affect majorly? Oh, that's a good question for people who are filling in the DS260. The main not to do mistakes is, number one mistake, don't lie, right? Whatever your situation, don't lie. If you made a mistake on the entry, like a small spelling mistake in your name, you correct that, or your date of birth or something like that. You correct that on the DS260, right? So you fill it in accurately with no lies, no mistakes, no lies, right? If you make a mistake, some mistakes are serious and some are not. Let me give you an example of a not serious mistake. Let's say you get the address wrong of the school you attended 20 years ago. Who gives a damn, right? Nobody cares, right? That's a minor mistake. You don't need to unlock for that. Now, a major mistake, a mistake that you should unlock for, includes anything that's going to impact your background search, your identity, that sort of thing. So if you have a spelling mistake in your name, if you put your passport number in, but you get something wrong with your passport number, your travel history is important. It doesn't need to be precise, but it's important you put it in there. Your social media history is important. Again, doesn't need to be 100% precise, just the best effort that you've made. So if you've listed your Facebook and your Twitter account and everything else, and you realize that you missed off your MySpace account from 20 years ago, nobody really cares about that, right? It's not 20 years ago, but you know what I mean. So, just do the best job you can to give as much information. So you want to be fully transparent. You want to be fully accurate as much as possible. And you want to be 100% honest, right? Stand by anything you put in there. What other things? No, just read the instructions. I mean, it really is, it's a simple process if you just follow the instructions. I was called at the Liberian US Embassy yesterday, dropped my passport, which I did, and I was congratulated by the CO to pick up next Thursday. But what I'm hearing globally, I'm afraid, so you can go to SIAC and see if your case is issued or not. If it still says refuse 221G, then I'm afraid you didn't make it. If it says issued, or if it says the words administrative processing, then you made it. It won't now go from 221G to issued, okay? How many countries does Dar es Salaam serve for DV? Can't remember, I think. I can't remember, but essentially anybody in that region can go to that embassy. It's not restricted to people from certain countries, right? If you live in that area, then you can go to that embassy. Can an embassy decide not to handle any cases at all? Yes, we've seen that at least 2 embassies this year, Niamey and Lagos, Nigeria. So Nigeria didn't take a single case all year. Totally scumbags. I mean, terrible. Now, Nigerians are not eligible, but a Ghanaian living in Nigeria should have been able to get an interview in Nigerian embassy and didn't because the embassy are scumbags, frankly. they should be ashamed of themselves. What a chance the high case number DV2024, like 78K and above. First thing, when you don't give me your region and year, so 2024 AF 78K, when you don't do that, an angel dies, okay? It's a rule. You quote your number without giving me the region and an angel dies. I believe that, right? So, so you have to give me a region. Now, I know from the number you must be in Africa. Is Africa 78K a high number? No, it really isn't a high number. It's lower than 63,000 for DV 2023. It's in a lower range. Is it totally safe? No, I can't say that either. Depends on which country and it depends on your embassy, but it's not a high case number. So some high case numbers will have a chance, some won't. That's the way it works. Oh, scan code, you corrected your date. Yeah, no 2NL. Yep, I know. People think if you win the lottery, it's a hand down, buy a ticket and leave for the States. Yeah, I've learned a lot, and it's a lot more difficult than I estimated. You're absolutely right, Poem World. You know, I'm a previous lottery beneficiary myself. My wife actually won the DV lottery in 2014. I thought exactly that. I thought they would literally, oh, we've won the lottery, great, they'll send me the visa. That's awesome. They'll send that through. And I started learning about this process. This was in 2013. In May 2013, that's when I started learning about DV lottery. And by, within a few weeks, obviously, I had most of it sort of figured out in my head. And then learned a lot more as time went on. But yeah, I originally thought they were just going to send me my visa and that was it. We were almost like looking into flights, I mean, ridiculous when I look back on it. It is harder than you think. Oh, and also in my year, my number was considered a high case number, and the foremost sort of predicting expert at that time, a Russian guy, Ravsky, his screen name was basically saying my number was probably not going to go current. And so yeah, I fully understand what it's like to get a high case number. I've been there, right? I was called yesterday to carry a passport, which I did. What's next, sir? Yeah, it depends on your status in SIAC. If a family member travels with the winner on the same day as a tourist visa to stay for a month or two, would that be a problem for the family member, or will it be an issue when they arrive in the US? It's a little weird. It's a little weird. There's going to be more suspicion about that family member. Let's say you travel as a family and you were going to include your kid, but your kid aged out, so is 23 years old or something, or 22 years old. And you're emigrating, and on the day you're emigrating, your over 21-year-old child comes with you who wasn't issued the visa because they aged out. The suspicion would be with that particular that child, that derivative, or that family member. The suspicion would be that they're going to try and live with you, right? So I personally wouldn't do that. I would probably separate that that travel plan and have that person travel at a different time. Okay. Same with parents or something like that, right? Just be a little bit sort of. I'm glad you're thinking about that, because that's good. Just common sense says no, don't do that. You don't want to increase the concern, right? Hi Britt, I'm a green card holder, but my parents got selected for DV 2024. Which form should I apply to? Okay, so you're going to fill in the I-134. Okay, I-134. That's and that will remove their concern about public charge, as long as you earn enough money to beat the federal poverty guidelines, but most people do. So there's an article on my blog, BritSimonSays.com, and I think the article is called "All You Want to Know About I-134" or something. So you can search for that. It's pretty useful article. Okay. My friend has an interview for 24th September 23. He got his interview letter as well. Now what will happen? His interview will be cancelled. If it hasn't already been cancelled, he'll be getting an email probably in the next day or two. It'll be cancelled. He has no further chance. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but no, he's not going to make it. Okay, let me answer some quick questions here. I need to go to an appointment in a few minutes, but I'm just going to take a couple of more questions. Today I had an interview scheduled in Havana, and when I arrived, they did not understand me. They told me that the DV2023 program is closed and that there are no more visas available. And then you say, is possible this? Yes, it's possible. It's true. The program ended. You just got very, very unlucky that you arrived for an interview the day they stopped the program. All the visas are used. You will not get your visa. There's no way around it. There's no possible way. Lo siento. What chances for high case numbers like 65K and above in 2024? I think I've just covered that. How is it possible that you have a scheduled interview without having a visa available? How is that possible? And has the embassy not notified the cancellation of the appointment? Yeah, this happened. This happened kind of overnight. So 2 days ago, they took numbers, and the government realized that they were very close to reaching the cap. And so they put a warning out yesterday morning in America, right, American time. They put a warning out that the program was about to end and was expected to end on the 7th. And by the time embassies were waking up on the 7th, that's exactly what happened. They cancelled the interviews. People were arriving at the gates and being told, no, the program is finished. It's ended. All the visas have gone. Now that's possible, right? You could have been scheduled for interview weeks ago. They didn't know the exact day visas were going to run out. So it's possible. They've just run out. I've shown you the numbers. They have run out. Okay. Okay. Hi, Brit Siren. I got my country wrong in the first letter. For example, country I got wrong is AF. My country is AF, but I corrected my country of birth in the DS260, but the one NL is wrong for me. Foreign state chargeability. Okay. If both countries, the wrong one and the correct one, are both in Africa, you'll generally be okay. Okay. Normally you'll be okay. It won't be a problem. So just continue with the process if that's the case. If, on the other hand, your country is in Asia, your country of birth is in Asia, but you had somehow selected a country in Africa and so you've got an AF number, that's a much bigger problem and you will be disqualified for that. And so, there's no way around that. Okay. Let's see. Emma, you submitted yesterday. CX still says ready. That means you won't get a visa, Emma, I'm afraid. That's what that means. Just trying to go through, see if there's any more 2023 questions. I see there's some 24 questions, and I'll do another live in a couple of days' time to answer some of these 2024 questions. But I just want to clear up these 23 questions just in case, okay? Activated the visa, flew back to home country for surgery, US contact mailed, GC for me. They've spelt your middle name wrong. Should you notify USCIS? Yes, notify them. You actually should have already known that they were going to do that because it should have been on your paperwork, on your visa, etc. It should match your visa. If they've printed a name that doesn't even match your visa, that's really bizarre. But yes, you need to correct it on the green card. Make sure that you've got your name accurate. That's not going to cause you a problem. It doesn't mean you'll get disqualified or anything like that. But it is important to have the accurate name. Okay. Okay, so this is a good question. How hybrid, now that DV2023 is done and a selectee misses a visa like it has happened, in future, if one gets married to a US citizen, what would the procedure be? There is another type of immigration, which is family-sponsored, family-based immigration. And a US citizen can sponsor a spouse, get married and get that person a green card. I don't deal with those sort of cases. I'm not a lawyer. I don't try and be a lawyer. I'm not interested in being a lawyer, and so I don't help with those other sorts of cases. But so I won't tell you what the process will be because I just don't study it. But good luck if that's what happens in your life. Good luck to you. So I clicked on this one by mistake. So Asia highest case number I've seen is over 52,000. I think it's now 54,000. And some of those high case numbers in Asia in DV 2024 will miss out, right? Where that will start, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. CP and AOS both not secure until visa is granted. What do you think? Does CP visa get assigned before interview? CP is slightly safer. It does have a visa assigned, but as we've just seen, they can unassign the visa and they can end the program. So yeah, I mean, until you've got your visa in your hand, neither one of them is safe. And I've said that for years. I've said that for 10 years. Until you've got the visa in your hand, you're not safe, right? It doesn't matter if you go to an interview and the consular officer says, "Oh, I'm going to approve you." That is meaningless, right? Oh, congratulations, you're all okay. That's meaningless. That's just words, right? You can't turn up at the border with words. You have to have a visa in your hand. So until the visa is in your hand, that's what's important. Okay. Okay. One last DV 2023 question, if I can see one. I think you're probably. Yeah, I covered the ready cases 11,000. There are lawyers that have been complaining about this number. There aren't 11,000 people scheduled for the month of September. There are less than 4,000, I believe. But yes, 11,000 are in ready status. Some of those people are from previous months, and the cases just the people didn't show up for the interview. They were scheduled for an interview, they didn't show up. Okay, that's what I call no-shows. There's other cases where the main applicant shows up for an interview but doesn't take the family. The family remain in ready status, so they're part of the 11,000 as well. Okay, so don't worry about the 11,000 number, but there is a 4,000 number, which is a pretty big number of people that were scheduled for interview in September and are now having their interviews cancelled. So that's pretty awful. That's brutal for those people. It's also brutal for the people in 221G that have basically finished their processing in the last few days and now are not going to get the chance to have their visa. That's brutal. The ending of this program, whilst it's expected, nonetheless, it's still very painful for a lot of people. So for that, if you're going through that pain, I'm sorry that you're going through that pain. And it's just the nature of this program, I'm afraid. All right, everybody, I'll call that a day. I need to get on with my day job. But thanks for joining me. And this is an unusual day. This exact thing has not happened before in the years that I've been doing DV lottery, nor in any previous year. We've had years like in DV 2013, there were some Iranian applicants that had their September interviews cancelled because Iran had met the cap in that year. And that has happened just a couple of weeks ago to Algerian applicants as well, right? But there's never been a year where the program was stopped early And the government warns it can happen anytime, right? They always warn that it can happen. Well, this year we've seen it. The program has stopped early. In DV 2022, it didn't happen because everything was being done at such a rush at the last minute. But that, if they'd have had more time, it probably would have happened then too. They probably would have had cancellations. They just didn't have enough time to stop the process last year. But yeah, so this is where we are. So nothing more to be said. The DV2023 program is over and hasn't ended well for some of you, but it has ended well for over 55,000 people. And for that, we have to be grateful. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me today. Keep well. Bye-bye.